right, welcome to the show, Klucifer. Glad to have you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, yeah, this has been really fun and Doomsday recommended or connected us. And I guess I want to start with Faceless, our guild. How'd you find Faceless? How long have you been involved in the guild?
Yeah, so I joined Faceless on Mischief right before Gates of Discord, actually. Um, not that long ago compared to most people. I think actually you and I missed each other very briefly, like within a week of each other or something, according to Doomsday. Um, so I found Mischief, Mischief and Faceless on Mischief. Uh, towards it was like 2 weeks before Gates of Discord, and I was playing on the test server. And I just decided, hey, this is a really weird and interesting rule set. Everyone was talking about it. Let me head over there and see what's up. Um, I looked for raiding guilds, and Faceless was it. Faceless was the guild. Other than um, Greed is Good, or at the time they had just rebranded to Treasures. They uh, they were the other one, but I wasn't really interested in the whole plat rating. It was kind of like a foreign concept to me. So I went with Faceless and haven't looked back since, obviously.
And you're currently are you the guild leader on the
Yeah,
Faceless on Mischief?
yes, I am.
Man, that is sweet. I want to talk about that for sure. We'll get there. I want to ask you about the test server. What were you doing on the test server?
Yeah, so test server is free. So you don't have to pay to be on there. You don't have to do anything. And I was playing on it through college because I was broker than broke in college. Um, and it was nice. It was convenient. I played a bard. I was in a really casual, like the only raiding guild was Primal Brood. They were super casual. They played content that was like two expansions behind them and wiped constantly. Uh, and It was super casual and convenient. I was able to put the game down for months at a time, like when, projects came up or when finals came up, and I was able to come back to it, and it was like no time had passed. Uh, so that's why I got kind of started on the test server because it was free and
What
you didn't
was
have
it?
to pay.
What was it like early days on test server as a bard? I've always wondered how you would progress without. I don't know. I don't know if people are grouping a lot or how did you make progress?
So really, people aren't grouping. There's a lot of like macro quest on test server. There's a lot of people boxing. So really, what happened is I test copied my character from um at the time it was on ECI. Well, actually, they had just transferred over to Tunair, I believe it was. So I had test copied my character, and I then got a power level from a mage that was just, pulling everything, and he leveled me up to grouping level, and then he got me raid ready, essentially. He was really this really awesome guy. His name was Vincenti something. It was like this really weird Latin name. And he totally like did the whole role play for it too.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
yeah, but like if you didn't have like a six box crew on the test server, you weren't grouping with anybody, you weren't making any progress, you weren't getting anything done.
Right.
So really it was me as a solo bard, with a mercenary just getting stuff done myself, with this mage once in a while coming and helping me out. My brother actually started playing with me, my younger brother, uh, you know, in college. And we would duo some stuff. He played a Shadow Knight, so Bard and Shadow Knight plus some mercenaries. We kind of fumbled around, so we didn't know what we were doing. A lot of my history in EverQuest, I didn't really know what I was doing. I started playing in 99 all the way up to, I want to say like 2015. I didn't really know what I was doing. I kind of just went with the flow. I was gleefully ignorant of everything else, and I loved it.
So how did you first find out about it in 1999?
My parents, actually, my dad and my stepmom, they started playing it, and at the time, my stepbrother and I were super interested. Um, and it was like a bonding activity for the two of us. He and I were fighting all the time. Typical, two families coming together. He and I were fighting all the time. This was our way to bond. They gave us one account.
Oh God.
He made a monk starting in Kanos, and I made a bard starting in Kanos. We would drop stuff on the ground for each other. Um and Yeah, we would just play. We were on the same account up until Kunark came out, and that's when my dad got DSL. And
Oh, the old
yeah,
DSL, high
and
speed.
yeah, the four of us were allowed to play at the same time, finally. Um, but
Was
yeah,
it
it was just me, my stepbrother, my stepmom, and my dad playing, which was kind of cool.
really cool though? So y'all would, what was that like? I have none of my family members play video games other than my brother and me.
Yeah, it was really interesting. It was. It kind of blurred the lines between, what was game and what was like real life because there were also like officers in the guild and everything that we were in. So it was really weird. Like we would get told at dinner, like, oh, I heard you guys were messing up at raids. Like, okay, it was like a casual raid. Like it was, I have no idea what the hell we were doing, but um,
How old were you at the time?
I was 11, 10. So my stepbrother was 15. So it was a weird situation. Now looking back on it, my dad still plays, and he's actually on Mischief, playing super casually. He's in Faceless. We have him in the guild as a friends and family. He plays around. Um, Now it's like totally different dynamics, and um,
I mean,
it's interesting.
you're his boss now, right?
Yeah, if he were raiding, he's not raiding. He just kind of
Okay.
he just puts around and asks for buffs.
That's fun.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're playing. I imagine you and your brother probably got into fights about who got to be on the computer
all the
playing.
time,
Yeah.
and he always won.
Oh man. So what was it?
Like he was 15, like what I was like 10 years old. What was I gonna do? So he would always win. I would go run into my parents like, hey, he's playing again. I wanted to play. I was gonna group with my friends. Um, and instead, he would play. I think he got up to like level 50. I got up to level 30.
Whoa, that's good.
By the time we got separate accounts. Um, yeah.
So what
So
happens then? Once you get Kunark, you get your own account. Did you start over?
yeah, I started over. I started over as a necro.
Tell me what it was like this first run of EQ for you
So the first run as a barter as a necro.
as a
Um,
necro. Once you get your own
so
account.
when I got my own account, it was like totally different. I would stay up until like 3 o'clock in the morning playing. I really went the solo route with the necro. Um, I would, train people in different zones just to be able to get the good spots. Um, I really went the typical like diabolical necro account or necro way. Um, there's this guy, he actually in Faceless, Ravanta, he reminds me of a lot of the playstyle that I used to have back then when I played a necro. Um, I kind of came into my own when I was playing that character, and I leveled up. When Planes of Power came out, I started playing with the public raids on ECI led by I think his name was a shorty out of Infinity. Um, and they would lead public raids through Planes of Power. And that was an awesome experience because the the raids, it was my first step into people that weren't my family playing the game. And I was able to interact with all these other people. No one knew that I was a kid, you know. No one knew me as like Turf's son or anything like that. It was just, me being me. And that was pretty awesome. And, there was no comms or anything for anybody to find out that I was a kid, going through, the voice changes and everything at the time, like, nobody cared. Um, and that was pretty awesome. I thought I was a badass necro. Uh, and I was pretty good. Um, and I enjoyed it a lot. I liked the fact that I was able to do pretty much anything in the game by myself. After Planes of Power, it got kind of more difficult for me. I kind of started losing interest after Planes of Power, which coincidentally is when stuff started resisting Necrodots more,
Oh.
Gates of Discord and Omens of War, it was more difficult for Necros to solo. Um, and then Dragons of Norath came out, and I completely lost interest in EverQuest. Um, I want to say 15 or 16 at the time. I completely lost interest. I had no idea what I was doing with the quest lines. I couldn't make up my mind. My guild told me to do one thing, I was doing the opposite. Um, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm walking away. I picked up some sports after school and I was done with it.
And this was at 15 years old?
Yep.
Dragons of Norath, you said?
Yeah,
So what was that? So I would imagine, 10 years old to 15. I mean, if you were like, did EverQuest really take a hold? Like your free time was mostly always
it
spent on the
did.
game?
Yeah.
What was it like transitioning back into the world?
I dived right into soccer and I've always been kind of super competitive, so diving right back into soccer was the ideal situation. Uh, it was, I got a job. Actually, I got two jobs. I played soccer. I enjoyed it. I then moved from Florida to New England. So that was a big deal. And kind of played on that's when I started kind of casually playing on the test server on and off. I would pick up the game again, like check out what was going on. And then about 2 or 3 years later, that's when I started on the test server more seriously.
Were there any other games that come to mind that you were playing during your time, playing soccer
You
or
know, there was not really. It was EverQuest. That was really only the game. Like there were like some old school Atari games that I would play. Uh, like Sonic was really big I really liked Sonic on the Nintendo and everything. Like, but that was it. Like I was never an MMO head or anything. Like EverQuest took a unique hold for me.
interesting.
Um,
So you didn't play like other RPGs like Final Fantasy or Dragon
no,
Quest? Wow.
none of that. Like it was really a unique hold for me, and I think that's the my family introducing it to me is kind of what did it for me. Like my my immediate family was playing it, so I dabbled in it. And to this day, like my brother and I play together. He's in Faceless, he plays a shaman, and we're hanging out and doing shit together on the game. That's kind of what connects us. So I think that's kind of what does it for me is the it also brings us together in the real world too.
Wow. Have you tried any other since then? Any other games like
Yeah, I
ever?
tried WoW. I tried WoW once or twice. I didn't really get into it very much. I actually started up on the hero's journey recently, which
Oh,
is
cool.
EverQuest, so it doesn't really count. But I really liked the hero's journey. But yeah, WoW just didn't stick for me. I didn't like the graphics. I didn't like the interactions I had with people. Um, I forget what I was doing, but it was like a mechanic where you had to dance in this room, and I was like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, what is this? Doesn't make any sense at all.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I was like, yeah, this is not the game for me. Uh, and then there was this other game about I think it was like surrounding Game of Thrones. It was like this RPG surrounding Game of Thrones that I tried for like a week. It was on the phone. That
Oh,
was kind of interesting, but didn't hold my interest because there was like paywall after paywall.
yeah.
Uh, but EverQuest, like you don't have to pay unless you want to. You can go
Yeah.
farm, go farm your own chrono and pay that way.
Do
So that's the
you
nice part.
do you have experience with earning chrono in the game?
I suck at earning chrono.
Me too.
Like I will try and I end up spending more than I should uh in order to earn chrono. Um I will do plat raids and I won't buy anything. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I really need like X upgrade. And I need it for myself, so I spend above and beyond what I really should have and blow out all the money that I've earned. So um yeah, I think I also really reinvest a lot of my money into my characters. So uh I actually play so I play a paladin and right now I play a paladin as of this past week I get to play paladin again, but I also play a cleric persona. So maintaining those two characters on the same character, it doesn't really give you that much opportunity to play and earn chrono any other way, through raiding or plat raids or anything on mischief at least. So that was the big downside for me. I have to constantly keep reinvesting into that character. So I made another cleric and I do plat raids on that cleric. I tried doing the whole teak chrono farming thing, um, and it just required too much effort. It was at a time where like mischief really needed my attention, so I couldn't give teak the attention it needed to be successful with chrono farming. So
What
I'm
are
like a passive chrono farmer. Like I will gladly sell you whatever I have in my inventory. I don't know what it's worth, but I will sell it to you and I will try to make a bang for my buck. But I'm not going to go out of my way to try to make buco bucks.
right. Well, what is chrono farming? Does that mean just what does that mean? Like,
Oh, just selling to me, it means just getting gear and selling it for what it's worth.
okay.
Um, you know, there's other people who will go out there and they'll farm the cleric epic and they'll just roll that and sell that multi-quest over and over and over again. Um, which right now they're selling on Teak for like 3 chrono a pop. Uh, there's other people that'll do that for the Shadow Knight epic and for the Bard epic. That I consider like more serious chrono farming.
Yeah, I mean
And
that's
then you have the ultra chrono farming where you have the 6 box crews that join together in a raid and they do current raid content and they sell the gear for chrono and RMT, and that's the serious chrono farming. So I dabble down at the bottom where I'm like, hey, this is in my inventory. Let's join general and try to sell it.
yeah. Yeah, I think Valia in our guild it shows these bizarre like the bizarre prices of all these like high tier 1 items and
Hmm.
they're all matched at like the same price and if anybody puts something up they all adjust at the same time.
Yeah, that's a macro quest script. Like they're manipulating the economy. Once they get off your server, it's completely different. I've noticed a huge difference since Teak started, on Mischief at least, um, where our bazaar doesn't get easily manipulated anymore. Our prices used to swing so drastically from day to day, and now it's just, pretty stable throughout the week. But that's, a macro quest script. They all match to, get the biggest bang for their buck.
Do they all know each other, you think?
I don't know. I mean, some of them probably do. Um, but it's probably as simple as going to the MacroQuest website and downloading that file and running it on your trader, and it does it automatically. If everybody's running the same script, it's going to do it automatically for you, and it's going to be the same across the board.
Well, why would it like it was matching their prices to the plat? It wasn't
Yeah.
like they were going lower than the other one. I guess
Well,
they
why would you go lower? You're losing money that way. The more people that are at the same price, the more options you have, the more likely yours is to be purchased.
that's so wild because I saw these. I mean, there's like ten of the same item, and it's like
Yeah, if there's 10 of the same item, how do you decide which one you buy?
I know. That's
So you just
and
pick a random one and you're like, okay, thanks.
wow, I gosh, that would be so amazing. I would love to see the data on how often items are being bought. I have no idea. I have no idea what's really going on in the market.
It's insane, and I don't even want to know at this point. It's kind of why I like my mischief bubble right now. I'm dabbling on Teak. I started raiding again last week on Teak, and just relive the content that I liked so much. End of Planes of Power, start of Gates of Discord. Um, and like I said, the mischief bubble, it's not easily manipulated anymore. And kind of like Faceless kind of controls that bubble. We're the only open raid or plat raid on the server. Um, we right now we're actually not open raiding because we're in the Darkened Sea, which is probably the worst expansion of the era that we're in. There's only one DZ, so we have plat raids one raid night and then regular DKP raids the other raid night. Um, but yeah, our plat raids kind of fill the bazaar, and we kind of dictate the prices of it.
When you say there's only one DZ raid, that means one zone y'all go to on raid night?
Yeah, so the Darkened Sea is actually the expansion that Mischief is in right now. It is the expansion after Sony sold EverQuest.
Oh.
So I think it is. Yeah. Yeah, it is. So it's the expansion after they sold EverQuest, and there's only one DZ. So it has five encounters and that's it.
Is this the furthest you've gotten in EverQuest content?
No, I've played through Claws of Ishan, but not seriously at all. Like, casually. But seriously, this is the furthest I've gotten. Yeah.
Shit,
Um,
go
I
ahead.
show up in zones and I'm like, oh, I remember this, like super casually. I get chased up this pyramid, and everyone's like, yeah, you don't really get chased up the pyramid, but I can see why you would think that because all these mobs are running around and you probably ran up the pyramid at some point. Um, and I was like, yeah, I played a necro, so that's probably right.
Huh.
So yeah. But yeah, there's only five encounters in that DZ, so it takes us an hour and a half a night. And that's it for the whole week.
So, can you share with me what happened once you joined Mischief and you went and found the raiding guilds and you saw that Faceless was the one and you joined the guild? Tell me about what your experience was like playing in Faceless. What'd you like about it, and what happened to move you into a position where you are now leading the guild on Mischief, the Faceless Guild?
So I was playing this necro, called Claris, and I was making friends. Ravanta was like the first person that I got to know, outside of, the select group that I kind of grouped with and joined Faceless with. Um, he was kind of giving me pointers on being a necro. because I had completely forgotten everything about this era, how shitty they are, how nothing lands on anything, and you can't. The DPS sucks. And I kind of made friends with Destro and Doomsday. Um, I believe at that point Doomsday had just main changed from Necro, and he was like, "Man, like I can't believe I just main changed from a Necro, and here you are starting off as a Necro. Like it's gonna be a struggle, man." So he kind of mentored me from there. We had this running joke where I would give him a skull every day, every raid night, just to, bring him back to his Necro roots. Uh, uh, and Destro the same thing. It was just they were good guys. They kind of took me under their wing. I in the real world have a lot of leadership experience. After grad school, I went right into leadership positions. And I built up departments and companies. So, leadership is something that's, normal for me. And when talking to Destro and Doomsday, they kept saying, "Oh, you should talk to Zaid. You should talk to Zaid. You would be good, like a good recruitment officer. You could, recruit people, get them in the guild." So finally, I was like, "All right, all right, all right, I'll do it." So I, reached out to Zaid. Um, Destro was like, "I'll set the groundwork. I'll tell him you've been asking." I'm like, "All right." So I reached out to Zaid. I want to say it was like Depths of Dark Hollow.
Was Zaid still guild leading at that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was Depths of Dark Hollow, and I let him know, hey, I'm interested. Uh, Destro and Doomsday have been encouraging me, and I think, I could help out. Uh, so I did. They Zaid promoted me, and I started recruitment. Um, it was around the same time that Antisocial stopped playing, so it kind of was like a natural handoff at that point. Because the Anti stopped on Mischief and I started the recruitment position. And then I kind of got more and more involved with the rating and the strategy and the organizational aspect behind it. 90%, not 90, like more like 70% of being the guild leader of Faceless is organizing the masses,
Oh
keeping
yeah, I
everybody
can.
on track, bringing people in the right direction, make sure everybody knows what to do, how to do it, when to do it. Um, and that's stuff I'm good at, right? So that's
What's what's that
that.
like? You join as a recruitment officer. Your work was antisocial still on while you were learning, or was it just
Um,
a kind of a
he not really. There was this guy named Sharpie who was recruitment for a little bit. And then I kind of took over. So it was kind of like Ante had faded out and I started. Um, so I kind of started just as recruitment because as recruitment, you talk to everybody.
yeah?
You're in everybody's business. You got to know everybody. You're friends with all 300 people. And that's kind of natural to, tell them, hey, you haven't signed up for launch. It's like a week away. Why the hell not? Like, let's talk about your availability, stuff like that. So that type of stuff is what I would do to help prepare, and then um, just gradually more and more behind that.
What about what was it like? I mean, I've never been an officer in any guild ever. So, and from what I've gathered, it seems like you guys are Zaid and the other officers, antisocial and everybody, and Dacer. It's almost like you guys have your own meetings and stuff, or your own. You guys have your own kind of channel you talk on.
Yeah, we have our own like section of Discord that we talk in, just to keep everything organized. There's at least on Mischief's Discord, we have a officer chat, we have a DKP officer chat, we have a raid leader chat, a recruitment chat. and then an expansion planning chat. Um, so everything's organized all on its own chat group. Um, and it allows, the free flow of information. People who are, let's say, the DKP officers. So we have DKP, I call them DKP guys, or DKP bros, as they like to be called on Mischief. Um, they aren't necessarily officers, but they wanted to help out. They didn't want the officer responsibility, but they're like, yeah, I'll hold loot, I'll send it out, I'll help out with the bids. Sure. Um, so they have access to like the raid leader chat and the DKP chat. And I rely on those people to uh make sure that the loot flows out on time and everything flows out and they work out the problems within that channel. The planning all happens generally before raid time. We meet like an hour before raid time and just talk. We plan
On
out what we're
on
gonna do.
on voice?
Generally, yeah.
So you and all the officers or
Yep.
okay, so what was that like for you? What had you been an officer in a guild before, or was this your first time?
This was my first time.
What was it like? What I mean, because one of the aspects of EverQuest that I think is the most endearing, fascinating, and interesting is the psychosocial dynamics that occur while you're playing the game. I've never experienced it in any other game. What did it feel like to be in that? I mean, you've had experience in
Yeah.
the real world, so in some ways it was kind of natural for you.
hmm That's the thing. You can totally tell the people who do not have the leadership experience in the real world and they come into a leadership position within the game and you can tell the difference, right? You can tell the authority that they bring, the attention that they bring. It's intriguing. Um, so for me, it was like you said, it was natural. It was just an extension of what I did every day. I didn't do recruitment every day, but I was a manager. I was a manager and then a director. So I recruited people naturally as part of that role. So that was easy for me. I got to know my direct reports just like I did within Faceless. The the transition to becoming leadership within the guild was natural. It's not the same for everybody else though. Some people can get intimidated. Some people um will think that it's for them and then you see it in action and you're just like, no, I really don't think this is the best bet for you. Um, I can remember we had one raid leader on Mischief who uh volunteered for two raids and at the end of the second raid he was like, no, I really, to be completely honest, I can't do this every week. And that was big for him. He stepped up. He wanted to become a raid leader. He told us he joined the officer team and then said, you know what? I can't do this. Um, because he couldn't find it within himself to really lead that many people. Um,
Yeah, that's what I was talking to Jadwin about. I was just, man, 50 people. The thing that freaks me out about raid leading is it's not that there's 50 people. It's that in my mind there's 50 people that know way more than I do about what we should be doing.
oh, you know what? Like I make mistakes every day and I don't care. You know what? Because I'm surrounded by people that know more than me. And as long as I rely on those people and we succeed at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So like I'm in an era where I told the story about running up the pyramid. Like that's the initial thought that I had about Arx Mentis, the end zone of the Darkened Sea. And Frank was like, "What are you talking about, dude? Like that was not a thing that you do, but I can see why you would run your scared ass up that pyramid." And I'm like, "Yeah, totally. As long as you surround yourself by people who are smarter than you or people who can remind you of your knowledge, that's all that matters." I work really well with Darkren. Darkren and I kind of co-lead some of the raids. On Mischief, there are other raid leaders that work well with one another. Um, and as long as you have your backup person and your person that, or you're smarter than you person, that's all that really matters. Raid leading is 90% keeping people entertained, 10% strategy.
Wow.
Think about it. Do you want to listen to somebody who knows better than you for 2 hours per night just tell you what to do? Or do you want to listen to somebody who keeps you entertained for 2 hours?
That's a great way to look at it. I haven't looked at it that way. Yeah, because
There's a,
what are we really doing? We're playing a game, we're socializing, and we're killing. We're fighting monsters and gods and stuff.
yeah. Why do you think Zaid tells you all those stories about lore and everything?
Because we badger him over and over.
Like, yeah, it started as a way to keep people entertained.
That is a good that's a hot take, dude. Like, yeah, it's like if you're stepping up and you want to and you're interested in doing the raid leading, you can do like Jadaman was saying, you could do the research and get the information that you need, but then once it's time to play, you can loosen up and try to have fun and get people engaged with the
Yeah,
experience.
absolutely. On what we do with the later content is since there's so little content, and after like Veil of Alaris, it's not as well documented. Like Planes of Power, it's been done so many times that like you can go to any website and it's gonna tell you what every single boss does. With the Darkened Sea, there's not very much information. You can go to Alakazam. It doesn't really tell you anything. You can go to EQ Resources. It doesn't really tell you anything. You have to go test it out. So we make playbooks for our raid leaders, with exactly what needs to be done, exactly what callouts to make at what times, who to rely on, what MGBs to call for, uh, all these things, so that raid leading is made simple and you can just rely on keeping everybody entertained, on track, and out of there by 10 o'clock.
That's really cool. The idea that there's all these playbooks for any other faceless guilds that get started, that anybody who is interested in raid leading would have access to this
Mhm.
information.
Yeah, absolutely. It even goes down to like the loot buckets.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
because that's the thing. Like we can recommend loot buckets to Negreth and Daybreak, and they don't have to take our recommendations. So each of the playbooks that we've created has our recommended loot buckets and then the actual loot buckets. Because how do you determine what you're gonna raid every week? It's gonna be the raids that give you the best loot, right?
Yeah.
So you need to know what the buckets are. Um, so that's each playbook has all that information.
Okay. So tell me a little bit. So you're doing the recruiting, you're communicating with the officers, you're part of the leadership team. How does the guild leader, I mean, that's a big title. How does that happen?
Um, let's see. So it was probably around Secrets of Fader. Zay started getting less and less interested in the game. Raid logging pretty much. And that was kind of when I don't Ansel started playing on Mischief. Ansel was a raid leader on Teak for the beginning, probably through Kunark. Um, so the Zayd started playing less and less. Um, there was a couple people that also started playing less and less around Secrets of Fate. Um, there was kind of like a natural transition that was occurring. Uh, Seeds of Destruction came around, and uh, there was someone who kind of started leading the Seeds of Destruction uh, progression and the rollout. Uh, it didn't go as successfully as we wanted it to. We still won it. It was still, victory for Faceless. But Ansel kind of took over at the end and was able to bring us to victory there. Uh, After Seas of Destruction, Ansel and I started planning for Underfoot. Um, Ansel took a raid leading role. I kind of stepped up and was doing the planning behind the scenes. Um, and Ansel and I made the calls for Underfoot. We made the progression roadmap, so to speak, how to get to the end as fast as possible. Because Underfoot drops keys, and you need to get a certain number of keys from each tier to progress. Ordinarily, Underfoot will take you 2 weeks. If you don't split, if you do it, the way Daybreak wants you to do it. The way we did it, it took us a weekend.
A weekend, you
So,
said?
yep, we were done by Sunday morning.
So you and Ansel got together and was like, how do we do this faster, quicker, more efficiently?
Yep, we super split the beginning, down to like 16 people going into DZs and raiding these DZs and getting the keys and clicking those keys. Because the DZs were dropping 16 keys, but they were meant for raids of 54 people.
Right.
And we figured out how to get them done with 16 people, uh, which was pretty awesome.
That's
So,
incredible. That's what I love so much about playing with our group of guys. Like that's what I'm interested in. How do we get it done as quickly as and efficiently as possible?
right. So we were able to get that done. That's also mischief rules because mischief doubles your loot. So it was technically only dropping 8 keys per event. Um, and then it was dropping 16 because of the double loot. Uh, and so we got it done just by nature of training our raiders. And by training our raiders, I mean going on test server. We maybe spent 2 weeks on test server with our raiders, uh, testing these events. Uh, a lot of the events in Underfoot is known as the expansion that kicks your ass. It's a step up in hit points. It's a step up in damage taken. If you do not glyph every single encounter in Underfoot, you're gonna die.
Whoa, really? So you need
Yeah,
AAs to burn.
yeah. Um, Constant AAs to burn.
Oh my gosh.
So, we fully prepared our team for that, and we were able to finish it super quick. Probably, I don't think we were able to confirm that it was the fastest that it's ever been done, but it clearly, it was the fastest. Uh, and then, want to say the day after we finished, Zaid DM'd me and he was like, "Hey, do you want to be leader of Faceless?"
Whoa.
And I was like, he had asked a couple times before that. And I was always like, no, I'm not, I'm not, I'm not. Because I have stuff going on. Like I can't commit that much time. And this time I was like, you know what? I'll take it, sure. Um, and I've been leader since Underfoot.
Okay, so what is that like? What is the time commitment? What is it like to be at the head of the snake?
It is not so much time in game as out of game. Out of game, if I don't have my phone on me and I walk up on my phone 2 hours later, I'll have 60, 70 messages on Discord.
Wait, whoa, hold on a second.
Yeah.
You what?
Um, because you're not on Mischief, you're not just leader of Faceless. Faceless is the largest guild on Mischief. Faceless is the most successful guild on Mischief. All the other guilds come to you with questions. They come to you with seeking advice, seeking help. So you're not just the leader for your 150, 200 raiders. You're also the leader or the person that people come to for advice for their people.
Whoa, I never thought of that.
So just like Antique, you know, Faceless Fury is the biggest guild. It's the most successful guild. So who do people come to when they have trouble? Faceless Fury. So you're not just dealing as the leader, you're not just dealing with your people. You're dealing with the outside too.
Dude, I've listened to all of Drama Quest. I'm on my third listen, and it's starting to make sense now why when there's competition in these TLPs, why it's important for the health of a server for a good guild to be there.
Yeah. I mean, the reason why Faceless is so successful and Faceless in general, all iterations of Faceless is we help people. We don't turn our back to people. In Secrets of Fader, we were giving away keys to all these other guilds. I think in the first week of Secrets of Fader, we gave away over 200 keys um to progression. Uh in Underfoot, we were going in and helping guilds clear raids. Same thing in House of Fool. In Vale Valaris, we led coalition raids for a raid that really blocked everybody.
Wow,
So
man.
we just continue to help people.
So you take over the position, and what expansion was this? Secrets of Fade, where you said, or at the end of it, or after Underfoot? I'm sorry, it was after
Yeah,
Underfoot.
after Underfoot. So after Underfoot, I took over. So it's been about 5 expansions now. Six expansions. So not that long. I haven't been leader that long.
How long?
Um, it's a little over a year, so not long at all.
What has changed for you? What has it been like in your real life? Has what's the impact been?
I went from a director position at an agency to a consulting position. So I don't have 24-hour on-call responsibilities anymore or anything like that. So I have the free time. Uh, I'm able to actually engage with EverQuest. If I was working a real job, like a real job, a job that had those responsibilities, I wouldn't be able to be leader. It would just be too much.
Right. So it sounds like the common through line to the course of this conversation so far has kind of been an organic progression that people fill in the roles as the roles are required. Like, so I guess let me just go on a tangent here. So
Yeah.
I've got a theory that not a theory, but it seems to me that the game of EverQuest, the pixels that make up EverQuest, in some weird way mirror reality in a way that no other game has ever done. That I've had so many weird, impactful life experience through this monitor with the EverQuest screen in the EverQuest game
hmm
that no other game has ever done for me. And
hmm
so when you describe it, like it seems like you're describing through the course of your experience in the game and not knowing and it's just somebody always shows up to do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. And life seems to orient itself according to that.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's all seems like natural, like
It's an
life.
extension, right?
Yeah,
So the what you're able to do and how you're able to progress in EverQuest is an extension of the time that you have and the investment that you're able to make into it. And it's also an investment on the other side. All of the other people that are also playing the game, what they're able to invest. So that's why it's so organic, is because these investments ebb and flow, and real life happens to people. And as real life happens, adjustments get made and things evolve. Leadership changes. Um, Commitments change. That's why it's so organic, is because it is really just an extension of life.
that was very well said. What
We're philosophical, right? There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't I don't really see it's I don't really see a difference. I mean, I used to carry around this thought in my head that like I don't know if the culture or my family, but like playing video games is bad. It won't get you anywhere, this and that. And, I get where they're coming from, but I recognize that life is really difficult, right? Life is really hard. And, you know, the things that we do to enjoy ourselves, whether it's on a game or out in the world, I don't really see much of a difference. I don't think it matters if I'm at the gym I'm obsessed with working out versus obsessed with leading a guild. Like I don't see, I just
Well,
don't see
there
much of
are
a difference.
real world implications on whether you're obsessed with leading a guild or obsessed with working out. So you have to balance those two because those are
Exactly.
important things to balance. Um, but other hobbies, like maybe not hobbies that impact your physical health so much, such as obsessed with reading versus obsessed with leading the guild. I wouldn't necessarily call it an obsession though. It's more so just a natural extension. Like I said, I have all of these messages kind of just piling up as we talk. And it's not necessarily that I have to respond to every one of them. I The glory of being a leader is that you develop a team around you to be able to help you achieve all of those things. So these messages, these things that you work on accomplishing, with the server, with your guild, etc. Um, you pick the best people around you and put them in positions, you're gonna achieve things. Um, there's a reason why you have DKP officers. There's a reason why you have raid leaders. You can't do everything yourself. So putting those people in positions that are going to make them success or they will be successful in will only allow your organization to grow. I think that me being in a recruitment role actually helped because I have that networking experience. I have that both internal and external. Um, I view them very competitively. I also view them as a necessary situation. I need to know who my competition is if I am going to develop a team. I also need to know who my team is. And that's the way a leader thinks. That's the way a leader has to progress in this game. You're not going to get anywhere competitively if you keep your head in the sand and you say, "Oh, well, I'm the best." Um, there's a whole Drama Quest episode that was just published, talking about that. So, um, you just have to you have to really know your place in the environment, and that's what a leader does, and that's what a recruitment person does. And I think that's why there was that natural flow for me.
Did you know that this is what it would be like before
No,
you stepped in?
absolutely not.
Man. So how was it? I'm super fascinated about all the messages and all the attention. How was it challenging at first learning how to leave the phone alone? Um,
It was. I would get so wrapped up in it at first. I would think that everything required my immediate response. It's kind of like starting a new job, like you would think that you need to be on it 100% of the time. You need to be on the ball. It got to a point where, um, I would go to sleep and I would wake up with 100 to the point where my phone no longer notified me of new DMs. Um, so there is a hard cap on the number of DMs you can have before Discord stops pushing notifications to your cell phone. Um, so I would reach that every night. And then I started realizing, I have this team and I need to rely on them. So now it's significantly less than it was at first. So at first, I wanted to be involved in everything. I wanted Uh, I wanted everything done exactly how I would do it. Uh, and now it's just I'm leaning on people. So that's how I've gotten used to it, is I've started leaning on people and having them help me.
And man, I can imagine also through the course of your year plus leading the guild, having to learn where what type of issues are worth the investment of your energy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? I kind of took the approach through Drama Quest, believe it or not. Of I'm not going to deal with the drama. I'm not going to let the personal drama kind of build up. It's not going to be there. So I think that's one of the things that have been allowed us to be the most successful. Uh, we're still two splitting in the Darkened Sea. Like that's pretty awesome. Most guilds die by the time they get to the Darkened Sea, and Faceless is still two splitting. Um, the no drama thing, the no nonsense, the that approach has helped me tremendously because I don't waste the time on every little thing. I If it's gonna take me more than 5 minutes of my time, it's really not worth it in the end. At least a social thing. Um, there are exceptions. The planning for the next expansion, that takes a shit ton of time. I start planning for the next expansion the moment we finish the current expansion. Generally, actually, the before that, I'm right now I'm planning two expansions ahead. Um, so those types of things, that's what's worth my time. Uh, the other leadership within Mischief is worth my time, worth investing my time. Um, the tiff between two rangers because one ranger doesn't DPS quite as much as the other, that's not really worth my time. Let's just throw the parses in the parse channel and let everybody else take care of it.
Right.
So, um, I have this thing on Mischief where I say all roads lead to Faceless, and it's true. Uh, Not everybody likes that saying, um, but Faceless is, a guild that has grown via absorbing other guilds. And that's part of the reason why those relationships are so important. Developing those relationships with other guilds and maintaining them, you're not only are you ensuring the health of the server by keeping them strong, you're ensuring your own strength because eventually they're gonna come to Faceless.
So what so is your aim to get to live?
Yeah. We have to make it to live because if we don't make it to live, no one else on Mischief is.
Man, dude. It's so cool. It's like you're always playing EverQuest even when you're not playing EverQuest.
It's the Discord quest is what we call
Discord quest, yeah. Yeah, like P99 has lawyer quest.
it. We've got Discord quest.
All right. Well, let's talk. We'll get close to the end here. I really appreciate you coming on. Just a quick one. We were talking about Paladins versus Shadow Knights. Now, my take on it is, I'm probably the most unknowing EverQuest player that has ever existed. Like, every Paladin I grouped with from leveling on Teak from level one till max level, every time I would have a tank. I mean, I don't know if I was lucky, but all the best tanks were Paladins from 0 to 60 that I played with.
Mhm.
So, but
Why is that?
apparently
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
I think they're just really good players. I think that in my mind, I've always heard that Paladins are the worst. So I feel like guys that choose to play Paladin want to play better. I think,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So paladins by nature are the underdog of the tank class. They get the shittiest tools in their toolbox. Yeah, we get heals. Okay, cool. So do clerics. Up until level 60, clerics are the better paladin. They can do everything better than a paladin can, and they can hold aggro better. Um, even like on Sunday in Plane of Fire, I was holding aggro on stuff that was coming into camp on the raid because I had healed too early as a cleric. Like, that was super simple. I was being a better paladin than the paladins were. Um, there comes a point in paladin timeline, probably around Secrets of Fader, where they get better. Their heal toolbox ends up expanding. Um, in Secrets of Fader, they get spell called Aurora, which is basically think of it like Divine Arbitration, the cleric spell that balances everybody's hit points. They get that they can cast every 3 seconds.
Whoa.
And then it heals them on top of it.
What do you
So that's
mean?
huge.
What do you mean balance everybody's hit points?
So the cleric spell Divine Arbitration is actually an AA, and then it gets their epic 2.0 is Divine Arb. Um, if somebody is at 5% health and somebody is at 100% health, it's going to take that 100% health person down to 75% health and bring that 5% health person up to 75% health.
Oh, okay.
So it does that, plus it heals them on top of it.
Oh, wow.
So the cleric can only do that once every 3 minutes. The paladin can do it every 3 seconds.
That seems game breaking.
Right. Uh, it's pretty awesome. The downside is you're not swinging when you're casting. So the paladin, all of the aggro that a paladin gains is by healing or stunning or taunting. So the more heals you put out, the more you get. Seeds of Destruction doesn't really bring anything new for a paladin. Underfoot, paladins get splash. Splash is an AoE heal. It will heal everybody within 200 range. They can also do something called twin casting that splash. They're the first class in the game that can do it, where they cast a direct damage spell, and that direct damage spell allows them to basically heal twice. So instead of healing for 20k, I heal you for 40k instead.
Well, I'll be honest, this sounds like it's a more engaging style of gameplay.
It is. Whereas in Shadow Knight, all they can really do in this instance to get AoE threat is do their AoE terror. A Paladin can heal the whole raid and get all of that threat because I just healed the main tank and I just healed the players that are beating on the mob and I just healed the guys healing the main tank. So that mob now is going to turn to me and start hitting on me because I
Wow.
just healed everybody around me.
And what expansion is this again?
That's Underfoot.
Underfoot. Okay.
That same expansion, they get Gift of Life. That's an AoE lay on hands.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Every
So
every hour or day?
every 30 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. So it heals everybody around you for it's not exactly a lay of hands. It ends up being a lay of hands though. It's like maybe like 75% of health. Um so it's an AoE lay of hands. You snap that aggro at the time. You would snap that aggro right away from anybody as soon as you cast that.
Oh, cool. I bet you have some good plays are happening in that expansion.
Yeah. So though the healing is honestly why the paladin gets super strong because they're healing. They're nonstop healing themselves and their group, so they're able to maintain that aggro. The moment you lose hit points, a group heal goes out. Just by swinging their sword, a paladin heals the group. Every
Wow.
every stun that the paladin casts also has the chance to trigger a group heal. So you're getting constantly healed by the paladin, and that's why the paladin's maintaining that aggro. Around the same time, um, Shadow Knights start getting some passive benefit to their aggro. I'm assuming because paladins started becoming aggro generating gods that they're like, whoa, Shadow Knights need more help. So now Shadow Knights not only uh generate aggro through life taps and jolts, but they're just passively generate a whole heck of a ton more aggro than anybody else. Um, their life taps are what keep them alive. They can feign death, they can to drop aggro, but really their life taps are what keep them alive, and that generates aggro. They can snare, that generates aggro. Where paladins really they only have stun and heals, so those two things. Shadow Knights have life taps, they have snare, they have jolt. In addition to that, they generate a ton of DPS.
Oh, they do.
They're yeah, they're amazing DPS. And their epic click, they can pretty much keep themselves healed through anything as long as they click their 2.0.
Yeah, that's why I've got a Shadow Knight I'm working on because I wanna play around with that epic eventually.
It's pretty awesome. And then you look at the other tank. So the other tank's a warrior. What can a warrior do? Nothing.
What do you mean?
They're
What?
reliant on everybody else for everything, right? They can press their defensives, but that's it.
Do you need warriors?
You need warriors for raid content,
Okay.
but that's it.
So it's pretty brain dead then. Just taunt and defensive and hope your weapons proc.
Right.
Okay.
Eventually there's like 10 different types of taunt that you have and everything, but um
That's the I guess my running theme for this show is why warrior. I just don't
yeah,
understand.
it's why
I
would anybody be a warrior? It's
yeah,
it,
I
it's
wonder.
beyond me. Um but we need them, you know?
Yeah, you
They're
need
they're
them.
important. They're important to take a beating. Um, but they can't do anything to save themselves.
From falling asleep.
Exactly. Like, um, the if I die as a paladin, so I switch it up. I'm either playing a cleric or a paladin. So if I die as a paladin, I know I screwed something up. I didn't heal myself. I didn't lay on hands myself. I didn't do something. If a warrior dies, somebody didn't do something to save them.
So the angry warrior, it's a real thing.
Right.
Man, okay. All right.
Because
So go on.
yeah, they're just they have defensives, but they have no ability to save themselves beyond hitting furious.
You gotta hope you have good friends.
Yeah. Why
Uh,
that's why you savor those clerics and you're like, yes, please stay because our warriors need you.
hmm
Nobody else does, but our warriors do.
Are you having an okay time keeping a roster of clerics where you guys are at?
Uh Nobody wants to play clerics, and that is the absolute truth. For pretty much I want to say that's like Omens of War through the end of the game. Starting in I want to say the Burning Lands, shamans become the predominant healers. Actually, in Call of the Forsaken, shamans out heal everybody else now. Um, right now, I have an okay roster on Mischief of clerics. The past 8 months, I've been a cleric on Mischief. I was just able to, as of this past week, I was able to main change back to a paladin.
Oh, cool.
Um, in fact, Thursday was my first raid back as a paladin. I really enjoyed that. Um, Topped the tanking parses and the healing parses. It was nice.
Oh, really?
Um,
First raid back.
yeah,
Tanking and healing parses. You were top of both?
I was top five of both. Yeah,
Nice. I mean, you got the AoE stuff going on.
yeah, it's important. And that's, I have four clerics at the moment with high enough RA. You really only need one cleric per split. But I wanted enough comfort in our splits to make the night go smoothly. So we put two clerics per split.
Okay. So what is it looking like from here? What are you looking forward to? You just joined us on Teak a week, 2 weeks ago. So it's getting you have some more availability. What does it look like for you? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, so I am honestly looking forward to reliving the content that I liked the most. I really enjoyed Gates. I really enjoyed Omens of War. The last time I played them on a shitty Necro. I did horribly as a Necro. So much so that like Zayd was begging me to main change at that point. He was like, dude, you're not doing well at all. Like main change to something we can use, please. Um, so like I want to experience it on something that I do well on. Cleric is something I do well on. So I am looking forward to that. I have free time. Mischief is at this point where really it only requires like a long weekend to really finish the expansion. I tend to get it done right away. So at that point, Teak is what is time.
Well,
So
this
I'm
is a
looking forward to it.
this is another moment where reality and pixels are intertwining because we've been going and now the universe seems to s- give us internet issues.
Right?
So yeah. So thanks again for joining us and I'll see you in game, probably at Raids tonight.
Yeah, I'll probably see you tonight.
All right, dude. Let me press the stop button.
All right.
Hold on.